What's going on, guys? Aarava here, and welcome back to the Pitlane podcast, episode number 65 today, with your usual host, myself, Callum, and Tom, and off race week podcast, obviously. So we've got a few different big topics to talk about ahead of the USA Grand Prix. So the first one being the Toro Rosso news, obviously during the Japanese Grand Prix, kind of in the commentary, really. They started kind of talking about the fact that Gasly obviously may go back and do his Super Formula final. It coincides with the USA Grand Prix. We now know he will go and compete and try and get that title. I'm sure Honda kind of wanted that probably maybe from their side, from a PR perspective maybe. But also I also heard Honda also wanted him to be in the Toro Rosso to get kind of used to it still. And so from that, today, literally, what was it? 30 minutes before we started recording, guys. I think, something like that. The news
was, eh?
yeah, it's kind of ironic that we didn't miss it. Usually, that's something we would miss whilst we record the podcast. But it was announced pretty much as we started preparing for this podcast that Brendan Hartley is going to race at the Austin in the USA Grand Prix. LMP1 driver, did do a few tests back in the day in 2009 for Toro Rosso. So I don't know. What do we make of that, guys? Kind of a weird one, but also kind of safe and cool, I guess.
It's interesting because it's a driver that I didn't actually know of at all, surprisingly. I've never heard of his name. Obviously, an LMP1 driver, obviously used to them sort of cars, but the fact that he has had previous Formula 1 experience, he did a test in the Mercedes. I know he's done a few runs in the Red Bull as well, but I read that he was basically picked up by Red Bull and then dropped and picked up again and dropped, because I think he was going to replace Webber when he broke his leg at the end of 2008 for the 2009 season, and then I think he had super license issues. But for me, I'm just excited. It's always exciting to see a new driver on the grid. I think it's not often we get new drivers on the grid. I think this year we've been kind of spoiled. In the recent years, actually, we've been spoiled by drivers coming in and out. But fair play to him, because he's just going to jump straight in and go. I doubt he's probably driven a Formula 1 car in about 5 years. So he's definitely going to have a big learning curve. I don't think anyone's really going to expect much out of him. But I think it's just for his career. I think he's going to be delighted to say that he was dropped by Red Bull, had all that experience, and he's finally come back round to give him an opportunity at a Grand Prix.
Yeah, especially if he beats one of the semi-successful academy graduates in the form of Kvyat, who returns for this race also. So, inverted commas, new lineup for Toro Rosso for this race, which is weird. First Kiwi or New Zealander since 1984, I believe I just saw. So, first, a bit of a different one there. Obviously, we had Haryanto last year from Indonesia, so it's good to get a different perspective in terms of nationality. And overall, just good. Now you mentioned that he did a few tests, his name does ring a bell from way back in the day. I remember reading the teletext back in the day and probably seeing it somewhere.
Teletext.
Yeah.
Jesus. What is a teletext?
Sky News teletext. Literally, back in the day, I remember. So, yeah, it does ring a bell, to be fair, but it'd be interesting to see how he does. LMP1 Porsche driver. I mean, he must have good credentials. So,
teammates with Mark Webber as well. He's won quite a few races as well.
Did he compete with Hulkenberg when he won Le Mans as well?
He did not. I don't think so. But
Still,
for example, this season they've won the last 4 races.
Yeah. And he's 27 as well, so he's just coming into his prime. So
yeah, and the race that he's recently won. I actually ignore that on that one. But the last race he did drive, I don't think he's done much racing this week. I think he's been a guest driver or something, like in this season. Sorry, but the last race he did that he won was the Circuit of the Americas. So he has got
decent,
of all the tracks in the same way that Pierre Gasly, isn't he not going back to Suzuka to finish off his season?
Yeah.
So what better experience than literally just coming off the back of one Grand Prix in Formula 1 to go into Super Formula to sort out his... I think he's kind of got a bit of an advantage there compared to the guy who's, I think, half a point ahead of him in the championship. I'm not sure who he's contesting against. But yeah, he's with Brendan Hartley, previous teammates with Mark Webber. He's actually his LMP career has actually been a lot more successful, let's say, compared to his Formula 1 and GP. Open wheel has been a lot more, but it's weird saying that, Tom, actually. A complete new lineup for Toro Rosso. That's so rare to see.
Completely
and obviously that means signs.
Well, looking forward to that. Yeah.
Fast-tracked. Next to Nico Hulkenberg. Ooh.
I'm looking forward to that.
It's good for Renault because, like they said during the week, it gives them a chance to pretty much get a head start on next year. So it's going to be good. It's going to be exciting, which is always a good thing in Formula 1.
It's good as well because they can form that relationship early.
Yeah, straight away, like
to do it
engineers,
or not.
drivers.
Testing.
Or not.
Yeah. Or not, yeah.
Just saying.
Which will...
Put that there.
Let's hope not, because that's like our dream team at the minute. We're all basically frothing at the mouth, thinking of Sainz and Hulkenberg in the same team.
That's a very exciting midfield lineup for next year, especially like the step up Renault made for this year. You'd like to think next year could get even like even better in terms of like
I called it early last year.
Exponential
Literally,
growth,
even when they came back, I said it. They're a team to watch out for. Hulkenberg played a blinder going there on a full-time contract.
That move now looks.
The second Renault said they would come back to the sport and take another Lotus, it was good because in due time you would have got another top team there. You can see resurging Red Bull along with Ferrari and Mercedes. So yeah, we said it before, where will McLaren be next season? So it could be an interesting one, and this just adds to the excitement of a possibility of various top teams or thereabouts.
Yeah, definitely. So the next topic then, I guess, that's pretty much all the Toro Rosso and
talking about excitement.
Driver transfer news. Kind of odd to say that. We're not really used to many driver transfer news in the recent years. Yeah, mid-season especially. But yeah, moving on to our next topic then. Before we get on to kind of previewing the USA Grand Prix, giving our predictions, the kind of other topic of this week was obviously, if you didn't know already, the F1 Esports semi-finals took place on Tuesday. So after qualifying stuff for basically via the game, they had like different kind of series of qualifiers. I believe it was like different time trials and like basically race scenarios at Italy, and then wasn't it Japan as well? And then they had the AOR leagues ran as they became the official league partner for the esports thing. So they ran some leagues there to bring finalists. So 40 finalists came here to London, where I am, to compete in the semi-finals at the Gfinity Arena, which is actually very, very close, literally down the road from the Chelsea football stadium, Tom. And they did the semi-finals there at the Gfinity Arena. And, it was very, very exciting to watch in person for me. And then for you two, from what I saw on Twitter, equally exciting to watch at home from the stream.
Brilliant.
Oh, sick. Like, it was... I didn't realise... To be fair, I didn't realise it was on until... Like, it was on, if you know what I mean. So, the marketing-wise... They needed to kind of get the name out a little bit more on that one.
I was talking to Paul Gill about that after the event, and he told me that FOM were a little bit half and half about how much they wanted to push it and who they were pushing it to in terms of like what avenues they were using to push it in terms of advertising. Hopefully, I'm not going to get in trouble for saying that. But yeah, they were like half and half about how hard they wanted to push it in different avenues. So I think that was something that I told him as feedback afterwards, along with Alex Gillen, about what they could do better.
Like, is the event be like you? I didn't tweet you, but I tweeted and you replied to me. Like, I just said like, when's the event starting? Like,
it's because
and obviously you tweeted me saying like it comes on later on, like for the second sprint. And I was like,
yeah, like they had it was running the entire day. They had practice in the morning basically, where the drivers just got to get used to the machines, but because there's only 10 slots on the actual stage of Gfinity, that's why they also had to break it up into heats. I think that was more of a kind of what they had to work with rather than actually full choice. But in the end, obviously, I think both of you have told me that it kind of worked quite well. I think it did as well. The heats worked well. It was like short and snappy, nice. The waiting between the heats was a little bit iffy, but that was because there was a long period for adjudication after the first race. But basically, they had 10 machines, so it was kind of at a go. They had practice basically in the morning. Then they had like the first heats, which weren't kind of televised and broadcasted, and then the second heats. Obviously, it would have been a bit too much, in my opinion, if they broadcasted all of them throughout the day. Because
8 heats.
It would have been just too much. But unfortunately, due to it being spread out over the day, they had to just make a choice of we'll just stream the second half. But
that would be watching a 200% race.
Yeah, it would just be a bit too much, like especially for a first event. I think that what they tried was good, but like I think you guys mentioned, and some other guys mentioned in our little group chat that because of the whole spreading out between the heats, it kind of did drag on a little bit towards the end. I thought that in person as well, like being there. In the crowd as well, like we all started off like because obviously they're like the hype man was there to be like, right, cheer on when we go to like the different like beginning of the heats. towards the end, you could tell the fourth heat, and after the fourth heat was ended, the crowd was a bit like, okay, we've been doing this for like 3 hours now. Can we like calm down now?
I thought the way, literally, the second there was like a bit, not a flawed system, but it wasn't going to work out, like showing the first round during the morning and then the other one during the evening.
Yeah, obviously.
For future, I think they just need to run it like a COD World League, for example. Just run it over like a weekend, so they have like a Friday, a Saturday, and a Sunday. Literally have like Literally, for example,
the problem is, I'll tell you this: I can try and maybe answer some questions in terms of like you guys obviously only saw the stream and didn't talk to anyone. Basically, from my understanding, they basically had to just find a slot that was free at the Gfinity Arena. Like they're partnering with Gfinity anyway, and then it was a case of them just going right, Cody's and F1, we have these slots available. Choose one and pick it. So they picked this one, and that's also why the AOR leagues. It was announced that AOR was partnering, and then literally within a week they started it because it all had to get crammed in within basically 12 weeks.
Yeah. It was very last minute. It felt basically.
It was quite compact because of the scheduling of Gfinity and because FOM wanted to get it rolling this year. But I think for a first event, you can't really knock them for it because they've got it underway, and the actual broadcast itself, I think, ran very, very well. From my perspective, in person, it was fantastic to watch. Hopefully at home
One thing
as well.
I did pick up is how well planned and very chillaxed the atmosphere with it. Tom Deacon, I want to say.
Yeah.
So
what
good.
A presenter.
So good.
Like, I got goosebumps from his presenting. Obviously we've got the likes of Steve Jones, Simon Lazenby, but Tom Deacon actually nailed that. He really did nail it.
He's got pedigree because he does basically all the
all the esports, doesn't he?
All for Gfinity. So he's got practice at it, obviously, and he's very adaptable.
Good F1 knowledge, though.
Used to be
good F1 knowledge from what I can see.
Good to be. He used to be a comedian, so he's got that kind of chilled out vibe.
Yeah,
about him.
He's got good wit,
good
wit
about him.
And also,
Tom, I would expect that because that's just part of the job to actually do your homework.
No, but it felt like, I know what you're saying, but it didn't feel like he studied it. It felt like he actually knew about it.
Like, I highly doubt that, but
I got that vibe. Or he pulled it off
very
well. He pulled it off very well. Like sometimes you always get like a glance. You're like, oh, that guy. Not sure, but
I know what you mean on that one.
He seemed like he totally knew what he was doing. To be honest, it wasn't like the first time we've seen F1. But
shout out to getting the rest of the crew though. Like Krun Chanduk. Okay, he was there just to give his insight.
I think he was like we need like a nice kind of biggish sort of name just to throw in the hat.
But I like him though. Yeah, I like Chanduk.
For sure. Yeah, for sure. It gave that kind of nice dynamic of like also that it kind of gave nice filler content between the heats of them just talking about real life versus the game, obviously in different perspectives like that. And then obviously for the commentary, Jack Nicklaus and Valsecki, I mean, just
brilliant.
Oh, you know what? Jack
Nicklaus, fantastic.
Please say you two. Obviously, you two will know FSR back in the day.
When
he used to commentate it. The fact that he's almost come full circle and come back to where he came from, and like his commentating back in the day on FSR. I think he started with the 2010 season. I think because I've watched some videos so often. But he started back then, and the fact that we've almost watched him go on a full circle, go through BBC, obviously Formula E, does a bit of Formula 1 commentary as well, and the fact that he's come back round again to commentate on esports, obviously basically sim racing, slight inverted commas on that one,
online
but
racing,
competitive racing, it is sick, and obviously to get Valsecki on, we had so much passion.
Like people are very on and off with him, but for the game to pump it up, because for more casual viewers, if we're trying to, the great thing about we're venturing into this is hopefully it gets out to a more broad audience. Like obviously we're all going to watch it, but no, it's not about that. It's about getting it to a broader audience. And for those guys to have someone like him to be like the hype man, he gets very excited, and it was just great. Like in person as well, it's funny to watch him because he moves his hands around and everything. I
saw the video.
When there was side by side moments, he was literally looking like a bird sometimes, going oh it's so close.
I'd love to see. I had a thing when I was watching it. I was watching it on obviously your video and then also live both, and then got my sort of gathered a conclusion. I think Matt was very good. I think he's good to give insight. Obviously, it's good to have that dynamic of someone who's actually raced there. But I was looking at Twitter and I was just like, we have to get Justin involved somehow. Like, if we got Justin and Jack on the same commentary table, could you imagine
the amount of people I saw say get Justin and Jack on? That would
literally
be the dream
just keep Matt
team.
on the analysis table, like with Tom and
like
Karun,
pundit, yeah,
and have Justin do the Matt role, not have him transition like what Matt was doing, and literally just have him there as a third commentator. Like, that would put the icing on the cake. And also, if they could maybe bring in like maybe next year like an actual driver to like maybe present an award or give an introduction or do an interview or something, or maybe give like an analysis. I don't know, something like, for example, Max Verstappen, who knows like what the F1 game's about. It's not like, for example, a driver who's out of touch with it. Like, he will know how it works.
Yeah,
so, like,
he
bring
plays
him
the game
in
regularly,
and he can like interview people, talk about it. You know, just try and give a bit more, like, legitimize it a bit more. So that would also be like another idea.
Yeah,
but
I mean, it's early days. Obviously, it's the first broadcast,
but it won't be the last. So it
won't be the last. But I mean, like
they've said,
definitely won't. They do want to like bring it. Basically, they're planning. They want to expand it a little bit to maybe do multiple rounds, perhaps. But they're kind of just seeing how it would work when the next game is going to come out. That's also the big question of. It kind of depends on also when 2018 would theoretically come out as well for them to do like the next seasons for the next year as well.
It's not good like marketing doing obviously the 2018 esports series on the 2017 game.
But are they not planning no more from what you could gather on this game?
No, they might do, but that's what I'm saying. Like, let's not get ahead of ourselves. Like, it's very like all those ideas you just mentioned, really good ideas, but also at the same time, you can't jump ahead to like putting like getting a driver in would be sweet, but they just need to finally get through the finals, make sure they know that works out, what they're doing with it, because also that's the question for the finals. The finals, like, because from what I gathered, it was like obviously Abu Dhabi. There's not an issue of space, so they're gonna have to. I think they're planning to build out a pretty nice set for it again at Abu Dhabi, but even bigger. And I think there's talk of getting all 20 of them their own separate kind of stands, so they can kind of get used to it for those 2 days and stuff like that. I'm very curious to see how that actually works out, and like, you know, how much they put into it. But I mean, obviously the finals are literally just next month, so that's gonna be very intriguing to watch. But it's just great to kind of see it went off without too much of a hitch, and like people generally on Twitter at least were very into it. Obviously, we don't really know about how casuals found it, apart from maybe they uploaded highlights to the F1 YouTube channel. I don't know if you guys have seen any of the comments or anything like that. It was kind of like there was a lot of positive comments, and then there was a few little ones where it's like that kind of like ignorance sort of comment.
I think they're always going to be.
There was overwhelming positivity that I was surprised with. There was even comments saying like, "Surprised there's not a negative comment on here." Like, there was people saying that.
I think there was a few like.
Also, I noticed on Twitter, like the whole evening, I know you had limited Wi-Fi. A lot of the sim racing community watched that event, and a lot of them were tweeting about it. And I was quite surprised. A lot of people were. There was a lot of eyes on it, even for those that hate the whole F1 game situation. There was a lot of people that watched that event. And like I said, the numbers, like, what was it, like 1 million at one point? Or like 300,000? I don't even know anymore, but like
that's
1 million
bollocks.
or 300,000?
No,
I'm going to stop you right there. I'm going to stop you right there.
That's
that can't be right.
Let's not pad out numbers. Right, on Twitch, it was concurrent peak 8K. On Sky F1, apparently. On Sky F1, on the actual TV stream, apparently it was around maybe 13,000 viewers tuned in on Sky.
Yeah.
And then on Facebook, let's take into account though, and I'm not trying to like bring it down. It's the fact that we have to be realistic about it.
Wrong.
And also, let's be fair. It's not about actually viewers. It's about the quality of it. Let's worry about the viewers later. Let's like focus on the actual quality, and the quality was there. But Facebook, first of all, the way Facebook video works is as soon as you get on it, it doesn't matter if you watch it for a second or not. It counts it as a view.
Yeah.
And the 1 million number that some of the Cody's guys were tweeting out was because they split the 4 heats into 4 separate videos for watching later. They added on 500,000, 500,000, 500,000, 500,000 to add in for 1 million. But probably a lot of those same viewers watched every heat. But still, it did very, very well to say that, obviously, we mentioned there wasn't actually that much promo, to be honest. But yeah, on that point about the sim guys watching and stuff like that, maybe obviously they've never liked the F1 game. I think it's a case of suck it up now, because now this is the best way F1 can grow its esports. Like, we've had this talk before, like, I don't know, like a year ago.
6 months. No, it was this season of the podcast. Season 2.
I mean, we've talked about multiple seasons. We did talk about last season as well. And
I'm actually gonna look for it right now.
I think the point always came across was that we all agreed on was because there was always that split between, I want to use this game or this sim or this sim. We were all too spread. The viewing community and the people interested were too spread thin about what game they wanted it on. Like, there'd just be too much infighting. But now the fact that FOM have backed the official F1 game, it's like, right, buck up, get to the official F1 game, or just simply don't take part. Because now this is the official thing being backed up by FOM now.
I'll say this. Numbers-wise, on the YouTube channel, the esports video...
The video's done really well.
The video, if you take out of the equation the Japanese Grand Prix highlights and the team radio and the driver briefing from Japan and the qualifying highlights, any other video, like blue flag rules, best
basically the
onboards,
non-race stuff, It
done better than any of that. Literally, except for the actual footage of like a race weekend itself. It done
if you
better
added
than
up, though, all the numbers that obviously came from from Twitch, from Facebook, from Sky F1, it does add up to a decently good YouTube video.
It's very decent. Very
there
decent.
is that good base already, and the fact that like they've already got this base with presenters, they've got the casting crew pretty much nailed. They had very little issues. I think they had one issue at the start of Heat 2 where someone might have disconnected, but like it's just what Formula 1 games are.
It's just a false start. I think it was a false start.
Just false start and people leaving and stuff. But just generally, I think they can really work on this now. I think the general quantity of them, obviously, it's going to be hard because they're still trying to punch above their weight in terms of like they're still brand new onto the scene. So getting arenas booked out for weekends is going to be difficult. But I just love the fact that it's finally here. It does on the topic of gaming and which games, it is a bit of a kick in the teeth for the likes of rFactor, for the likes of Seto Corsa, and for the likes of iRacing, but each of them have got their own individual communities and individual competitions. Obviously, they're not the official esports, Formula 1 esports, but, for example, iRacing, you could win some bare dollar if you win some of them competitions, like the World Championship Series. You can win a decent amount of money by winning the Indy 500 on there. You do get yourself as a good name. Let's not forget Jan Mardenborough, who got into WEC through Gran Turismo of all games. So I don't think that community should be that annoyed at Formula 1, the official Formula 1 game being back, because there's still plenty of other opportunities. But yes, it does force people onto that platform if they want to be noticed that way through esports.
I mean, there's not from obviously I didn't have Wi-Fi most of the night, but like even like checking back through like from my timeline, I couldn't even see that much like any of that kind of it's the official F1 game yada yada.
You know why? None of it. It was very well received all around.
People were genuinely hyped, and I'm not gonna lie. I sense the only reason that this is the thing on a whole, I missed the last heat just because I was a bit bored. That was the thing. Like that, my general thing. Whereas I'd already watched Gem, obviously, back in the day. Obviously, we can't forget Gem, very close to her heart. But just generally, I felt some genuine excitement when Harry, for example, was coming through the field. Like I think a lot of us were backing Harry. The fact that when he was coming through, and some of the moves, obviously, made, like round the outside at Luffield, I can't remember who it was. Also, Denosha, I think it was. I've realised I was racing with him. It was on my channel. I was racing with him. Yeah, I forgot that I raced. I think I did like I was like defending against him in like Spain in AOR season 12 or 13 or whatever, and I was like, oh shit, he's there. So the fact that it's just generally it's really brought out the inner community, because the fact that people have already got favourites and everything, it's really brought out a good community vibe.
Yeah,
and obviously it just puts into account, because obviously we haven't spoke about this yet. Just fair play to all 20. All of them. All of them really, because they did an amazing job. Obviously.
Shout out to Ollie Pakala. Guy was so smooth when you walked out on stage.
On the intro, on the intro. And just another story of it, it's always good when esports builds like a story, because then, like you said, you root for people. So the whole thing with Flying Finn and his brother, Sonic, obviously Flying Finn, very well known in the Xbox community, 2-time Xbox champion. But his brother coming on and then saying like, oh, he'll make it into the final. And then obviously Finn had a very big issue at the very start, had to pit early, kept on racing and just managed to get that last position he needed to get enough points to actually make it through. And then obviously whilst they're going up, I think Sonic jumped on his back like while they're celebrating. Just little moments like that was really cool to see. Kind of made it a bit more human as well. Little bits of comedy. Obviously, Sonic was like, "Boah," at the very start of his little interview thing.
That was legendary. That was absolutely
just things like that where it's like that brings out the community like in a really good way, because like those little memes that only like proper like fans will kind of like know. Obviously, if you're a casual viewer, may not know, but any F1 fan will know that's Kimmy's little thing, and so it's kind of really good to have that little thing come out there. And there's just little things throughout the event, which like oh yeah, it's really cool to see. Like it's like little trigger points for the community to kind of get behind it and like just laugh at a little bit as well.
I think genuinely all they need to do now is make more VT packages. Aarav, you might not have known that, but I don't know if you got to see the actual broadcast. But I saw that we all watched the same 2-3 VT packages over and over again.
Reuse like the one Matt made, and then like the other one where it was basically just explaining, whereas it's just explaining what was happening and stuff like that. So yeah, I think obviously they had to do that more because of the Sky thing, because they would have had adverts, and also due to the fact they had the heats. With obviously the adjudication in the middle, they had to have something to fill the time, and it couldn't just be Tom talking to Matt and Karun the entire time, because they would have run out of stuff to say, and they kind of did towards the end a little bit. But yeah,
I
overall,
think they could have used that more. Like they could have really plugged the finale in Abu Dhabi a bit more. Like they didn't really they said it was there, but like they could have done. Once again, they could have done more mention of it. Also,
I bet they don't know the actual details, though. I think.
Exactly.
They know the dates, but I don't know. I don't even know. I don't think they even know the time, because literally
in that case, they could have plugged the next actual real life race, which they didn't do not once. They could have just said, check out United States Grand Prix this weekend. Got live acts of this, that, and the other. Like, try and get the cross-brand promotioning. Like, just try and get it across all areas of F1 and try and get it out there a bit more. Like, they did not make a single mention to the real F1 in terms.
Let's be honest. I don't think they need to. I think most people watching it are F1 fans. Like, it was broadcast only on Sky F1. That was the only TV broadcast. So you have to be an F1 fan to repurchase that channel. And then on Twitch, it was broadcast on F1 Esports. It wasn't broadcast on Gfinity's Twitch. So again, you'd only have to be an F1 fan to actually click on that stream. Yeah. Same with Facebook, really.
You need to be liking
so it's like
Facebook
a little
page,
bit,
so.
maybe on the Facebook side of things, but still as well, I would imagine most people would already be into F1. Obviously, the only difference is some people tuning in might not be fans or even know too much about the F1 game itself. They might just like the real life sport.
I was going to say, the podcast we did where we first had like a big convo about esports was back in May, coinciding with the Indy 500. So
right,
that was 5 months ago.
Yeah, 5 months.
That's not bad, to be fair.
They've from there they've ramped it up like faster than I ever thought they could, in terms of they also took the risk. Cody's took the risk and put out that 1.9 patch on those specific local machines to do the esports broadcast. They took a risk because it could have messed up. But it worked. It worked out fine. And that broadcast, new spectator cam, really helped for that broadcast, because it helps so much to have that leaderboard with the timings and the tyres, and even when you're pitting and stuff like that. So they took a gamble with that, and they actually made it work really well.
And just shout out to the AOR boys as well, doing the cameras. They nailed it.
Yeah,
they did
Fizzy and Dan, from AOR.
I
met Dan and Fizzy afterwards, and they did a stellar job. Like, they're basically telling me they basically had 2 setups each, so they had 4 in total. And there was a director guy apparently next to them, and they're basically shouting like, "Go to screen this, screen this, screen this, screen that. Like, there's action here. Go to this screen." And so like they're basically just whipping this director to like change the cameras around. So yeah, they did a fabulous job, and I think from what I know, both of them should be going to Abu Dhabi to help out, and I hope they do, because that really definitely I think made a difference in terms of if there was someone there that wasn't in clue with the game on the spectator cams and what to watch out for in terms of action, I think it would have been a little bit less. So great shout to those guys for doing that. But yeah, overall, so many times throughout the night, I was just saying, for a first-time event, this is just nuts. Like how good it went, the production value, the effort that's gone in. It was great. It's great.
And you got on the broadcast as well, Aarav, when you were doing a bit of shouting.
Oh yeah, I can't believe you could actually hear my shout when Harry came down for the interview. I just thought I'd go, Harry, and then I got tweeted like, I just heard you shout at Harry.
Yeah, we all
heard
that. We all heard someone shout, and then I think you said, you tweeted, "Oh yeah, by the way, did you hear me shouting?" Everyone was like, "Yes, that was you." Yep. We soon found out that one.
I didn't think they would like. I thought the audio would be so like tight knit that you couldn't hear that. But yeah, great that you got my shouting of Harry.
COTA.
Let's move on to COTA then, the USA Grand Prix preview. So obviously the biggest thing going to the weekend, apart from that Toro Rosso switch and the Renault switch, obviously, is basically going to be Hamilton can theoretically wrap up the championship if Vettel was to come lower than 5th. It probably won't happen, but he can mathematically do it. Probably more likely is maybe Mercedes might wrap up the constructors. And then just generally, it's just going to be a continuous fight, obviously, as everyone has been doing for those, last, what was it, 4 rounds now in the season?
Yeah.
4 rounds?
Yeah.
Red Bull obviously trying to make a little bit of a late resurgence, just trying to get as many, nice podiums and potential wins if they can. Again, USA may be a place they're challenging. If it rains, I don't know if there's any forecast for rain, but we know Red Bull went very well in 2015 at the very start of that race with rain. But yeah, predictions, guys, then, I guess. Should we just go straight into it then? Or what are you thinking for pole position, at least? Should I go again?
I want to
first?
say
Should I go
Vettel,
first
but
again?
I just feel like I'm going to curse him.
Right, so I'm going to go for Hamilton for pole. I'm going to go for Hamilton for pole. So what do you guys think? Or should I go full results?
I'll go Hamilton. I'll go Hamilton pole as well.
Yeah, I think he's going to go very well at USA. I think he really likes that track.
I'll stick with Vettel.
Vettel, okay. Okay, top 5. Ooh, this one's a bit trickier, to be honest.
I just want to see Seb win a race, to be honest.
It's
got to happen, surely.
I'm going to go for Hamilton first. I'm going to go for Verstappen second again. I'm going to go for Vettel third then. Kimi fourth, Bottas fifth.
I'll go Hamilton, Vettel, Verstappen, Ricciardo, Bottas.
Vettel, Verstappen, Ricciardo, Hamilton, Bottas.
We've got high hopes for Verstappen, put it that way.
Actually, I'll switch Raikkonen for Bottas.
Yeah, I mean he's on the momentum roll now, so I'd like to think he can carry that forward. It just depends on really actually. It's like the last few rounds. Obviously, Ferrari got unlucky. It's very dependent on how well Red Bull goes. We just don't know really how well they'll go at that track. I mean, we've thought one thing for Ferrari and then they've done the other sometimes, and the same for Red Bull. So if Red Bull turn up and that car goes around that track pretty damn fast in practice, I think Verstappen has a good chance to get another good podium. Well,
in my opinion, what I've noticed in the last few races is everyone's been sort of like, oh, what tracks are Ferrari going to be good at? Oh, what tracks are going to suit Red Bull if they're resurging? Ferrari and Red Bull have been the 2 fastest cars at every track since after the summer break. Let's be honest here. They're thereabouts. Like Red Bull,
not Suzuka.
That's a little bit.
Red Bull have been really good. Ferrari were the fastest team around Suzuka, or at least Vettel was anyway. I think Suzuka was the closest in terms of Ferrari and Mercedes, but like Malaysia and Singapore were definitely like Ferrari Red Bull tracks. Suzuka was a bit more Mercedes' favour, but I just feel like everyone on paper was like, okay, Mercedes are going to boss this race. There's that one race that Ferrari will probably have to pace, and then it'll be Mercedes. But it's really been anyone's game. I don't think you can look at it on paper anymore and say, oh, that's a Mercedes track. Oh, that's a Ferrari track. Oh, that's a...
It boils down to track temperature, innit? No, I think that's pretty much... It's not the cars themselves, it's just how the cars react in different temperatures, which is why Ferrari have suddenly become so good again. But obviously, Austin, it can be still decently warm. Even it's getting warm here in England again. It's pushing 20 degrees this weekend. So you can't even predict the weather, to be honest. But I think Mercedes might just have it, but I feel like, yeah, you can't really put a piece of paper between them. Like, you literally going to have to throw a blanket on them, just stick your hand underneath and just go, right, you're going to win.
I do want to see just Vettel win it, to be honest. Like, just as a neutral, it's just such a wet way to finish the season. I just want to see, like, something, honestly.
Well, if you look at, I watched a video the other day of like a small little Instagram video of the Ferrari points haul, or the Ferrari haul from Asia. You realise how bad their Asia was. They must hate it now. They're going to hate ever going back there ever again. I bet they're glad that they're on the complete opposite side of the world. But no, I'm still quite excited for it because Kota last year, I think it still gave us an alright race, didn't it? I mean,
just generally, I like that circuit. Yeah, it's got
the track's sick as well. It's got good character. Fans were always amazing. And we get a bit of American vibe in, which in Formula 1 we always love.
I'm just very much looking forward to seeing how Sainz goes on in the Renault. I'm not expecting crazy stuff because it's his first time in that car.
Even he said,
I'm just looking forward to seeing him in that yellow overall, just kind of knowing that, okay, it's actually starting now. This is the start of his little Renault career for next year, and it's going to be good just to see him get comfortable with it, and hopefully that will bode well for him from Australia next season, just the fact he's been there for those last races, like we said.
A small caveat here. Because, I mean, on Ramble, we can discuss this for like another video, but Red Bull was saying about tying down Verstappen and Ricciardo for like another 3 years until like at least 2020. If Sainz is only on loan at Renault for 1 year, Just saying. Yeah, just
To be fair, that's not.
Just
That would be a turn.
I think it's depending if they can actually tie them down.
There's
I think
no way Sainz is going back to Toro Rosso, so...
I think they would want to tie those two down, but it's a case of actually can they tie them down? Can they promise them a race-winning car, like a championship-winning car? If they can't, then Sainz might come in.
The end-of-season package is giving them a good thing to sign on.
Yeah.
With the Aston Martin deal, I'm just saying, I think we'll see Sainz. I've got a feeling we'll see Sainz at Renault for more than a year.
Hopefully so. That'd be a very nice, strong partnership to go on for at least 2 years.
I've even thinking a speculation is like Renault have a very good next year, and with the prize money from this year and next year, they bank on that and they cash in on Sainz and buy him out.
Yeah, could do.
That's a topic for another day, because I think we can really dive into that one and properly dissect.
Yeah, there's a lot of different things about the Red Bull.
Lots of permutations.
Yeah, different kind of ways to go about it. Little behind the scenes stuff. So we can probably leave that for another day. So guys, if you have enjoyed this podcast, then hit that like button. Let us know what you thought about anything we talked about in the comments below. If you're new around here, then you get subscribed to this channel for the podcast. Check out these two links in the description. And as always, our Twitter handles are above our names. We hope you guys enjoy the rest of your day, and we will see you guys next time.